Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Hey, look at us.
We
missed it. But we're together. We're never together on a podcast because Jerry lives in Kansas. I live in New Jersey. We never met each other in person after this whole almost year. And now we're on a retreat together because our boss sent us away together so we can, brainstorm on the beach.
Yes.
And so that's what we've been doing. So,
and talking about the podcast. And we were so excited to have our guests that we have today on our first time together.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing today.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's so cutting edge too. Love that.
Yeah. So, my daughters use TikTok all the time. But I keep hearing about, and I see on Instagram teachers using it. And I'm not a TikTok person, but I'm hoping to be schooled today in it. But so we invited two people who use it heavily. One uses it for PD, the teachers, and the other uses it with students. And you may recognize him because Toney has been a guest already. So we have Toney Jackson.
And we have Andrea Keller. And Andrea and I, right before the show, were talking, how many years have we been following each other on social media?
I think at least 15.
At least 15, and it could be more. And I have to say that as I follow Andrea, and she's also known as AK Busy Bee. Most people probably know her as that more than Andrea. But I have watched over the years the numerous awards that she has won. It doesn't matter what position she's in education, she wins an award. She's that person.
Wow.
Always award winning. And so it's really an honor and privilege to have both of you here today. Jamie doesn't use TikTok. I don't use TikTok. But we're hoping that you will help us start to learn TikTok. So
yeah, I love that because Toney joined us back in the fall, I guess, because he uses poetry. Well, Toney is an author. Toney is a poet. And Toney uses his creativity in the classroom to motivate his students. So that's what our podcast was about. But I also know, because I follow Toney, that he has used all that creativity into TikTok, because if you can't beat them, join them, right? How else are we going to connect with kids? So this way, and he does it Hamilton-esque often, right? You have to tell us a little bit about that.
yes.
Too cool. So we're super pumped to have, student stuff, teacher stuff with these two TikTok fanatics and cool kids on the block. So we hope to be, like I said, to learn from you guys.
Yeah, so let's just start. Andrea, why did you decide? You have been a social media maven for years, but when TikTok came out, I just said to myself, can I do one more thing? Oh, you jumped right in. You're right on top of it. Why? Why TikTok for education?
Well, so I'm actually a librarian, and my library is ginormous because I'm in middle school. And so I kept seeing these kids go to the one certain corner, and now I understand why too, because the lighting is fantastic, and do these dances. I'm like, what is this? And so I download the app, and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything with it. I just want to be able to have conversations with the kids because I want to know what the kids are watching. So this way they're like, oh, Miss Keller, you're way too old. Because I am old. But they're like, you're way too old to know this stuff. But when I got into it, it is so creative. TikTok is so, like the people that do TikToks, there is so much work that goes into a 30-second, well, now to 3-minute video, which is way too long, but 30-second to 60-second video. So that's why I got started in it, because I saw my middle schoolers doing the dance. I have done some dances. I am not that great. I have to really slow it down so I can kind of get it. I do much more of the book talk area of it, but I wanted to be on it because the kids were on it.
The book talks. Yeah, I can see how that would be a big thing. So you're saying that there's a lot of creativity, obviously, when kids are creating their own. So it's an educational tool, I guess, too.
It can totally be an educational tool, but I'm as a librarian and as an instructional technology specialist before that, I have to think that it is a 13 and up app. So when I do create on TikTok, I share my platform in different areas. All of my stuff is totally kosher for anybody to watch it. might be slightly, but that's neither here nor there. But I can push it up to other of my accounts. So this way kids can follow it or see it. But the creativity, even with what the kids do, is amazing. Of course, the cringy dances too, but there's so much more to TikTok than just the dances. Thank goodness.
You have teachers who follow you. You provide what type of professional development? Is it specifically for library media specialists?
So a lot of my TikToks do gear towards things that are happening in the library. I do a book talk Tuesday every Tuesday, which I need to actually record next. I also do like little tech tips, and that's where I get a lot of my tech tips too, because we're all super busy all the time. That's another great reason for TikTok, because you can get lots of information in 30 to 60 seconds. So you can learn something new. So it's so much you can do with it.
Well, that's what teachers are best at, right? Cramming it all in. All right, I got 20 seconds till the bell rings, and I'm getting in my closure, whether it kills or not, right?
And that's why I listen to my audiobooks at double speed, so I can listen to it even faster. So
love that. Yes. How do you get your creative inspiration?
I follow a lot of hashtags, but the logarithm on TikTok is very, very different. My FYP or For You page is all over the place. Sometimes I'm like, how did I end up with this video? Because the more you interact with a certain video, the more videos like that are going to show up in your feed. There's two columns in TikTok. There's your following and your For You page. I actually spend more time on my FYP. I don't know about you, Tony. I don't really go to my following page. I tend to stay on the FYP. But you can do hashtags just like you can do on Twitter. But hashtags are trending. So you might say, ooh, I want to go see what this hashtag that's trending. Doesn't necessarily mean the video is appropriate, because if they see a trending hashtag, they'll add it to their video. So some might end up in way different, because of course, just like any platform, there's inappropriate things on there. Sometimes I'm like, I did not need to see that. Please don't show up my FYP again.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, Tony, you're shaking your head a lot.
Yes.
What are some of those things that you leverage as well, or that you?
A lot of that is just like, that's the way that it works, right? And then working backwards, the hashtag piece, I was confused at first, because it'd be like a new movie comes out, so somebody puts the movie hashtag, the movie title, and in the video, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just because they're trying to get eyes, and they know that that's going to get people going to it. I started using it for me. Like, I didn't start using it as a teacher. I started using it as a person who, does poetry and does some rhymes and stuff like that. And I actually, I follow a person named Gary V, who is like really at the forefront of a lot of social media platforms, and was talking about, TikTok. So I was like, okay, let me check it out. And I went over from Instagram. I would post, a video or two, like very, very seldom, and get very, very little activity. And I wasn't seeing much. I wasn't going there to look at anything. I think that when I started going back over there was when I started doing more. I started seeing that, also that more of the students were there. And I remember when my kids were on it, when it was called Musical.ly, because Musical.ly was the app first, and then Musical.ly turned into.
It was Musical.ly and then something, then TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. There was like a little transformation thing. But it started as Musical.ly, and I used to have kids all the time that would like go to the bathroom and be like, "Oh, I just did a Musical.ly," and they're just like lip singing, songs. And so that's why the youth, the kids were there, and I started seeing some of my students there. A couple of them found me, but my students last year were the reason that I went on. And my kids are 4th grade, so I was like, I don't even know if they're supposed to be on this thing, but they found me pretty quickly. So then I started putting up some of my educational songs, and it's that 1 minute. It was that 1 minute constraint before, and then I would see interaction, from some of my students. I was like, cool. So I started talking to my kids, and we were doing video content in the classroom using other platforms, not using TikTok, but because we ended up doing that so often, this was just like a natural way to go. And so now that I've been using it this year, I love it as a creation tool. I think I still stick to the 1 minute piece. I saw that, they opened it to 3 minutes. I like that 1 minute for Black History Month. That was my go-to. I would do, a bunch of videos and see how much I could pack into that 1 minute. And you can do things like some pretty serious editing. You can do some pretty great editing with it. So a 60-second clip could end up taking you, hours to to put together. But what I did was I would take those, I would download the videos, and then I would drop them into another platform for my students to see, and they would engage with them there. And so that's how I got into it. And now I use it I use it the same way that I use, like Insta or Twitter, and I like connecting with people. So now I use it in that sense, and I have a real appreciation for it.
So Toney, I asked Andrea where she gets her inspiration for her TikToks. Where do you get yours? Is it what you're teaching or something else?
Yeah, so it would be, a little bit of column A, column B, C, like all the way down, right? The first thing that I put on there that got, I'd say a decent amount of attention was something that I saw somebody else do. And it was like this gag where they play What You Won't Do for Love, like the beginning of What You Won't Do for Love. And like you're running out of time for something. I guess you wonder where I've been, right? That was it. And it was just like 5 seconds. And so I was like, hey, that reminds me of like when I'm trying to get into class and start the Zoom before my kids get there. And, and it was literally like a 4-second thing, like, oh, I'm here. And I was like, haha, I'll put that in. And then, it got maybe like 30,000 or something views, which everything to that point was, a couple dozen. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know what to think of it, but that's where I got the idea from. I got the idea because somebody else did it with something else. And I was like, hey, that reminds me of something with teachers. And I feel like that's what we do a lot in the classrooms and in our buildings is we see that, hey, that's a cool idea. I like that, I like that concept. Let me see how I can flip that into something that would work with my kids or something where I can slide my personality into that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Can I get technical for a minute? When you're creating a TikTok, do you create it on the app or do you create it somewhere else and then just upload it? How do you do that?
You can do both. So I use an app called CapCut. I don't know if you use that too, Toney. It's pretty fantastic.
What is it called?
CapCut, CAPCUT. I also use it for my YouTube videos. But my middle schoolers taught me about it. They're like, hey, you should use CapCut. I was like, oh, it can even extract sounds, just so you know. Like there's a lot, like if you have a video, it can extract the sound from video. But as a librarian, I might have a small issue with that. But anyway, that's a whole different story. But you can do a lot of editing inside TikTok.
Yeah. I usually do. I usually do it within the app, but I started by uploading stuff. Well, after that first one that I did in the app, I started uploading stuff that I was like, oh, this might be cool. But then it's like the formatting. Is it a portrait or a landscape video? Generally you want it to be a portrait. For me, I love the ease of use of the actual creator that they have. Every now and then there may be something I'm like, oh, this would fit, and then I'll doctor it up. But it took a little bit for me to get used to all of the options that they have there. But once you got it, like it's not bad.
If you see videos with text though, text takes. Like I did a 15-second video today and I spent probably 45 minutes on it because of text, which is awesome. But that's all inside, you edit inside the app and it takes forever.
Well, and the text piece is what draws me to a lot of videos, right? Because you can do closed captioning, so it's more accessible. And now I think that they must have fixed their closed captioning piece, right? So lately, yes. When you go in, you can put you can record your video and then press closed caption, and it will give you a translation. It's not going to be completely accurate, and then you have to go in and needle around with it. But I use an app to come up with the closed captioning sometimes, or sometimes I'll use the one there. But that definitely takes the most time.
And this was even closed captioning. This is a trend, a video trend that was happening right now. So as a librarian, I'm putting over the music, I'm putting words of what's happening over the music as like what I'm saying as a librarian, but not really saying it. So it took forever.
But the closed caption, I imagine, is a really important component. So I guess it's worth it. I mean, not only for engagement, but also for differentiation as well. So I think that's pretty cool to use in it as an educator. Now, you mentioned a minute versus 3 minute. I'd imagine, Toney, that you, because, you know, kids like things chunked in very small doses. So I imagine that you do like the minute version. But for you, Andrea, working with teachers, do you tend to do the 3 minute or do you stick with the minute?
So the 3 minute just came out, and I'll be honest, I like to stay under 15 seconds, because if you go back and look at your analytics, you can see how long people are interacting and watching your videos. And most people will stop watching about after 8 seconds.
What's happened to our attention, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's why you got to catch them fast.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's good information.
It
You know,
really
you
is.
got to get to the point right away. Or you
I was just going to say there's things that that connect back to the classroom with that, right? Like, you know, when I have a lesson, if I lead off with a hook, then often, you know, it'll keep my kids more engaged. Same thing, you know, if I do have a longer video, then I might think about saying something at the beginning, like, let me show you how to do blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, that at some point in that video, I'm gonna get to it if you're interested in it, right? If not, you may be like 3 seconds in, you may just swipe past. But otherwise, I may have just sparked your interest. And you're like, oh wait, no, he's gonna tell me about this. He's gonna tell me how he did this. So, you know, there are things that work in both places, whether you're talking to adults or kids.
Exactly. And then the longer you watch a video, the more videos, if you interact with it, if you watch a video, you interact with it by liking it or commenting it or watching it all the way through and then liking it, your FYP, your logarithm in your FYP changes. So then more content like that comes up. Like there was a whole time we're talking about closed captioning. I was following so many people that are deaf. And I was just enthralled watching their TikToks and learning so much about the deaf culture. Words, like it was just such a really cool thing. So my logarithm changed because I was watching those, spending more time on it. So then I got more deaf videos in. So it's your FYP changes all the time.
that is so cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool.
I wouldn't have thought that you would learn so much about deaf culture on TikTok. Right.
Native American culture is really coming up right now too, and like the different Asian American month, Black History Month, like. When we watch a lot more of those videos because we're more enthralled with them and then we're more attentive to them, those start showing it more. And then you follow even more cool people that you wouldn't even realize you wanted to follow because you're hearing so many more stories just because you like something.
Yeah. Now, Toney, you mentioned, and this is what I noticed you using it more was during Black History Month. And you mentioned your videos during that time. Now, I don't know if you both know Ken Shelton, but we've had him on 2 of our podcasts. He's amazing, and we learn from him all the time. And one of the things that he really highlighted was the fact that, you know, sometimes Black History Month can be like on the performative side, right? It's like we do it that month and then that's it. Or also we kind of focus on just the trials and tribulations, right? But what about all of the people who have done these amazing things that we don't focus on? And I noticed, Toney, that you really did. And I think that was a really great thing for you to, you know, just twist it around a little bit, because we always focus on, you know, the struggles, and we need to know that, right? That's part of our history. But we also need to know about all of these people who have done these amazing things that we don't know about.
Yeah, no, thank you. I tried to zoom in on figures that sometimes that I was learning about, definitely that my students hadn't learned about and, you know, weren't in a lot of books. I think the first one that I did, though, it was snowing outside and we had about maybe like 13, 14 inches of snow. And it just made me think of Matthew Henson, the Black man who was the first to explore the North Pole and to reach the North Pole. And, you know, that was like, maybe that one was like 15 to 30 seconds. And that like really whet my appetite to be like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And then I had a book that I was reading at the time that was speeches by African Americans, and it went back all the way to the 1800s. And so there were figures like John Sweat Rock and Sojourner Truth, who you may not hear their names as often, but have done amazing things. And the struggle piece is the struggle piece is inherent, right? Because that in order to do these great things, they did overcome things, but it highlighted folks who, we're talking about folks who were holding multiple jobs. John Sweat Rock was what was he? A dentist, an abolitionist, teacher, at the same time. And so there were things that my students would not have been aware of unless I brought it to them. And the great thing about something like TikTok is that it holds that, so that it doesn't just have to be something you access through in February. You can go and you can share that content at any time, but now I can build up a bank. So when I do this again, I don't want it to be the same figures. And now I'm looking at what I can do during Asian American Pacific Islander Month and Pride Month, and what are some of these that I can kind of set and store and then have these ready to go.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Ken recommended. He recommended that we highlight the positives and we don't just cram it into Black History Month, but it's something that goes beyond. And I also love the fact that you have a time constraint in your TikToks. So what you also did was you challenged them to go do, not just kids, but me as adults too, to go dig in and do some more research on it. So I thought the challenge as well, because I thought that was really great, because you didn't have to confine yourself to that time limit. You're telling them this is just the starting point. Now dig even a little deeper. Now that Andrea, what do you see? Yeah.
Well, and TikTok is a great place to advocate because we have such a different kind of platform where we can reach very different types of people that might have different views. Now, of course, you're going to have the hate comments. Thankful I have not had a viral video, so I don't have hate comments yet. But I do want a viral video, but I don't want the hate comments anyway. But it is a chance, though, for you to advocate and share those stories and have a platform that you might not have reached otherwise. And it's so important that like you said, that you share those stories. I really started sharing stories, like my book talks. I really focus on all different backgrounds of authors because I want people to see that you need to hear stories, and it doesn't always have to be about the terrible things that are happening, but it's just a character in a story, that can still go on. But I also love too that the connections that you can make on TikTok. I have a Girl Scout troop. They're third graders to eighth graders, and we've been virtual since last March. We meet every Monday. But because of TikTok, I had a NASA scientist come and speak with my girls one evening. I just hooked up with a paleontologist because we're trying to show girls what they can do in STEM. And so I'm like, I find them on TikTok, then I find them on Instagram, and I message them, because what else can you do, right? All they can do is see your thing and not answer, or they can answer back and be like, yes, I totally want to talk to Girl Scouts. So it really has, we're in this digital world as it is. So TikTok is really, it's taught me more on how to be a more empathetic person than I think I've ever been. And I try to think that I pretty kind of am empathetic, but I have learned so many stories and ones I would not have known had I not had that 30-second, 60-second video.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, just the connections you're making. And I think because kids are so connected with TikTok, it kind of validates for them, like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. A paleontologist, that you may have just, kind of talked about, whatever, but, oh, okay, it makes it real for them and important and validates it, unfortunately, because it's on TikTok. But there's that connection. We have to find ways to connect with kids because, like I said before, if you can't beat them, join them. They're using it. Well, why don't we leverage it too? We have to keep them engaged, and this is the best way to do it.
And the amount of art that is on TikTok is outstanding. It's giving people a different platform that made their sidewalk chalk artist, or made a poet. There's so much emotion that can go in, and like I said, transitions. People spend hours making mini movies. They're better than commercials. I can spend hours on TikTok just because they're so creative. It just amazes me that people are so creative and willing, not only the creative, but they're willing to share their creativeness for others to either love or not like at all. So at least they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I love how you're telling us how deep it goes, because, you know, I hear so many people think, oh, it's just fluff, a bunch of people doing silly dances. Why would I want to be on there?
But I love the silly dances.
Oh, same. I'm terrible, but same.
I think that, and that's like such a key piece, right? I think that when probably historically, when something hits with like the youth, it's, you know, it's us older folks who dismiss it so often, you know, just because, right? But I think that, yeah, I love the dancing. I love a lot of it, and it's one of those things where, as a person who loves and participates in hip hop culture, I will often hear people say to me, who is, you know, who is a teacher and who does a lot of raps that I do will be about education. I'll hear a lot of people say stuff like, oh, well, you know, I don't even like hip hop, but I love what you did. And I feel like that attitude, right? That attitude of, I'm going to dismiss or I have dismissed the entire culture, or, you know, but because something that you did connected with me, it's like, well, you shouldn't assume that I'm the only person who is using it this way, right? This is showing you just another side of it you may not have thought of. And I think TikTok is like that too. There's a lot of stuff on TikTok that you know, I would probably think of as like nonsense. I'm like, oh, this is not for me. You know, there's some silly stuff, but at the same time, like, you know, somebody's perspective on that is different. And the dancing sometimes is like super fun. Like I have a couple of them that I got stuck with. I know I did one. And then there's another one that like every couple of days, I'll just like do it in my house without TikTok, just to be like, wait, do I have this? Because I love this song.
Is it Poof Be Gone?
I've seen that. No, it's not, but I've seen that. It's Heartbreak Anniversary, and it's like the song is beautiful, the dance is dope. Yeah, I mean, and you think about, like, you might have students who are into choreography, right? Or you say, like, how could you express this thought or this idea in a dance? You know, here's a constraint, and sometimes that constraint could be just what those kids need, you know, to challenge them to show something that they wouldn't have in that way before. Here's just take a minute, right? Do that without TikTok, but take 1 minute to present this to me about what we just learned. Or, you know, or you do like a jigsaw activity, but you give them the constraint of a minute and say, let's see what each group can show to us. Then you really get them collaborating. And things like stitching, right? Like we didn't talk about like stitching and duetting, but you can take somebody's video. Like there's a lot of producers and beat makers and acoustic artists who will play something for like 30 seconds. And then you'll have people throw lyrics on it, and you'll have people sing.
The sound editing it's
incredible, crazy. Right? So yeah, it encourages collaboration. And this is all of the great stuff. Like there's definitely a side of TikTok that you have to be wary of. There, you know, I've seen people get shadow banned. I've seen people get shadow banned for which means that, you know, your content is suppressed. And I've seen that for folks who have like tens of thousands of followers, but when they say something like Black Lives Matter, or when they comment about like George Floyd or something like that, it's like it gets no views, right? And so I've seen the folks who run TikTok have even come out and addressed some of those instances. But overall, that is not, you know, that's not the whole, right? That's a piece. So there are some things, as with anything, that are problematic, but I think as a tool, it is fantastic. You know, if you know what to look for you, if you know how to use it, and if you're open to seeing those parts of it.
Like right now, everybody's loving Backyardigans, the Backyardigans song, but now they've done Backyardigans with little Einsteins, and like they're totally smashing. And I'm just like, how does your brain even? And it works. I'm like, brain even like comprehend, and then they put the dance to it. I'm like, how does your brain work like that? Why can I not have my brain work like this?
There's so much creativity that you guys are describing here, that, I mean, not only to engage kids and adults, but also to motivate and inspire them to do the same. And I think that is the coolest part. I mean, what are some things that you are seeing educationally, like kids are trying to do for projects in the classroom, that you think are super cool? What are you seeing?
Sure. Now, you mean that I'm seeing like kids produce and then put on TikTok?
Yeah, so like you do it, and I'm sure it motivates them to do their own, or vice versa, right? You might get motivated by
yes.
that.
Yeah. So my kids, we use something called Flipgrid, and we use it to kind of create and curate videos within the classroom, because I don't want to let my kids loose on TikTok, when I don't know that their grown-ups are there to supervise them or anything like that. But they see what I do, and then and there's a ton of applications or programs that you can use for them to create videos. But they do similar things, whether it's a reading response, whether it's, we have, we do that for Black History Month as an example. I showed them a couple of mine, and then they researched figures on their own, and then created videos talking about them that they could then share and comment on each other's. They do poetry like that. We have what's called the Poetry Place, and they will, record something, share it there. They use it a lot for something we call expert evidence. So if you feel like you're an expert at this after this lesson, and you don't have anything else to do right now, well, okay, take that and share a video where you're solving some problems, or that somebody else can then use, and they have content. So I have over 700 videos of student created content where they are able to go in and they can say, hey, you know what, I had trouble with 7.3. I had trouble with fractions. So let me go in and see, this student made a video about that. Maybe that helps me even more than when Mr. Jackson explained it.
I'm stealing all your ideas too, by the way, Tony. I'm like, let me write this.
But this is recorded, so you can go back. But
yeah, and we follow each other, so we're good. We'll connect.
there you go. Teaching is the highest form of learning. So giving kids those opportunities to teach each other, become that expert, to teach each other is the greatest thing you can do. And you mentioned Jigsaw too. That's incorporated in there as well. The collaboration involved in all of these activities you're describing. There is problem solving, critical thinking, all the 21st century skills. And it's such an important and difficult skill to identify the most important and relevant concepts.
Distill it down.
Yes, to get down in bite size, right?
Yes.
And so to be able to do that is a really important skill. These other guys, what do kids do? And adults. We go on and on and off to off topic, right? So this is why the main idea, the main points, it's hard for them to do, and this is kind of forcing them to do that. And at the same time, embedding that creativity. And they're having fun. They're having fun.
A new outlet. A new outlet.
Yeah. I love what the librarians have started, or I've seen a lot of libraries do, because as librarians, we're always trying to advocate the importance of libraries, because especially right now, it's so important to have librarians because of all the media that comes at us, making sure that we understand how to understand what's actually coming at us. So information literacy and digital citizenship is super, super important. And so I love that a lot of libraries are having their own TikTok accounts to now promote different things that they're doing in the library, to do book talks. They're so creative and so funny, but it's just one more way that as a librarian, I can advocate for the importance of librarianship.
That's dope. That's like, I have to check on our local library and make sure that they do, because that's a fantastic idea.
It's been, and they're so silly. Like, some videos are so silly, but they're so good. And like, I have followed librarians too that have like 100,000 followers. I'm just like, I want to be that cool librarian, so much good information that we can give. And so it's just another great tool for us to advocate, and not only advocate, but also look back to say, hey, this really, I know I'm doing TikTok. I know you saw me doing a TikTok today, but let me look at the analytics of people that are interacting with this video, that it is getting to more people than possibly just our community,
Oh my, and just really quickly, like, we think about making the learning relevant for students, and oftentimes you think, okay, well, how can I make this something that they care about? And I think even with my fourth graders, if I were to just mention analytics, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. But if I say, well, do you know how you can look at the number of views that you get on a TikTok, and sometimes you get a whole bunch and sometimes you don't get any? And they would start to go, oh yeah, right, okay. And I said, well, let's start thinking about why that happens. And then we have icons that we look at, and we would say, so what are the trends that you notice, and what makes that happen? And so I find that fascinating. I just started following somebody. I think he's maybe like 17 or so, but his whole account is about growing your TikTok. Right now, I don't have the time to really invest a lot of time in that. But now I know that when I'm just scrolling through, I might see a tip, and one of the things he said the other day was, making a 7-second video with some music and some text, and that would be one of the things that blows up. So I haven't put it all into practice yet, but I love being able to have those opportunities for learning constantly, whether it's somebody that's 20 years younger than me, or somebody that's older than me. So
and there are some fantastic older accounts on TikTok. Like, I'm like, how'd you come up with that? Sometimes inappropriate, I'm not gonna lie, because they're like, I don't care what I say.
Well, you have convinced us that we need to get on.
Yeah.
So what's the first step? Give us a little advice.
Well, and the great thing about TikTok too is that you can do a lot of lurking, just like what you can do on Plurk and Twitter. You can lurk. Like, I have friends that just get on so they can get ideas because maybe they want to use that 30-second video in their own classroom. But set up an account. You can change privacy settings. You can fix privacy settings. So if you do post something, it doesn't go anywhere. Go ahead and fix your bio and username to begin with, because I've seen a lot of teachers lately, if they go change their bio, they get banned. Have you seen that? Yeah, Miss Bennett's class, Professor, there's been several of them, like they've lost all their accounts. So they've actually had to they've actually taken legal action with TikTok, I believe, for a couple of them. But go ahead and create, when I did mine, I'm AK Busy Bee everywhere. I do have one Instagram that's being the bookends, but for the most part, I'm Busy Bee. So I went ahead and created it the same as whatever my other platforms were. So this way people could still find me and could look for me easier.
Same. Yeah, same. He rhymes with me is, my Twitter, my Insta, my TikTok. And, it could be a whole nother show talking about the differences between the social platforms, because you definitely will notice that. But as far as starting out on TikTok, I think what Andrea's saying there is definitely important. Finding the people that you already know, finding the people that you already know, and then looking at some of the folks that they follow, and learning to hashtag surf. Like I can look through hashtags for anything, if it's differentiation, if it has something to do with a content area. And when I first got on and I had some people following me, one of the things I asked was like, is it strange that people don't make videos here? Because there's a lot of people that have 0 videos. I was like, I'm noticing that a lot. And, that's when I learned what Andrea's saying. A lot of people are just there to take in the content, and that's fine. That's fine. And people are pretty open about that too. But I think one of the things that was pretty cool is there's a lot of fun ways to introduce yourself. So, there was a song that somebody wrote, and then, that, blew up and became viral because everybody was using it to say different things about themselves. This is my name. This is my age, yada, yada, yada. But you can find something like that. You don't have to, reinvent the wheel. So looking to see what things are trending, that connect with you, that are on brand for you, right? And then, moving from there.
Yeah. Right. So maybe be a consumer first and then a creator.
Well, and that's because creation is scary. Creation is scary anyway, if you think about it. But TikTok, because the algorithm is so weird, for me, creation was very scary, because I'm like, I want the viral video, but with viral videos comes along with people that love your stuff and people that are going to point out how much they hate your stuff. Because that's how we live right now. We're like, ooh, we're gonna film, we're gonna fix that. So creation is scary. So I think TikTok, probably, and I had for a good 3 months before I even actually started creating on it. And even now my stuff is that I like it. It makes me happy. I go back and watch my videos. I don't know if that counts in my views. I think they're funny. I think I'm funny. So that's all that matters, right?
That's right.
Well, we think you're funny too.
Yes.
But okay, so we're going to start one for the podcast. So we're going to have it ready by the time this airs. All right. So, we might come back to you for advice, but you've motivated us. We're going to do it. I do. Oh, 2 questions. One, are you able to post,
integrate?
Yeah, integrate, post simultaneously with Instagram and Twitter, or no?
That's a good question. I know that there were some apps, that I used to use where you could put something in and it would just combine, it would go out to all of your socials. I've never done that with TikTok. I think it's worth it to check it out. I used to use something called Hootsuite that I know used to, you could schedule stuff. But I personally haven't done that with TikTok yet. And that's the thing. Although there are some things that you're going to want to push out on every channel, I think TikTok more than probably any of the others, the content that I do there is a little bit more unique and a little bit more creative sometimes. Twitter often will just be a phrase or just conversation. Instagram sometimes can just be an image, but because TikTok is like a combination of all of that, I usually will do things there and then maybe shoot them out somewhere else if I like the way that that it's received there. If I feel like it's good enough. Not so much the other way around. Like I usually start with my creating in TikTok.
Right.
Okay, because I see your TikToks on Twitter, so that's how I know.
Right.
Well, and on that too, not everybody, I know this is gonna be crazy, not everybody has a TikTok app. So if I post a TikTok to Twitter, I actually post the video, save the video and upload the link, like add the link to it. Because of course I want the TikTok views, but I know not everybody's on it because some people are like, no, I take all my information. I'm like, dude, your social media takes all your information, but that's cool. It's cool, whatever. People don't understand everything all the time. But like for Instagram, depending on what so if I want to do like Girl Scout stuff, or I send it to my AK Busy Bee Instagram stories. And if I want to share it with like Book Talk, I send it my Be in the Book Instagram stories. But I also have a Talkstar librarian account. We haven't done quite so much with it this last year, but we started one. So we actually will record our own videos in the TikTok app and upload them to a Google Drive. And then one person will actually put them together. But here's the thing. So like we all have access to the Talkstar librarian TikTok account, but only the person that's actually working on it and logged into it can see whatever drafts. Like, so you have to kind of edit it somewhere else and then put it in depending on who's in charge of it. So there is ways that you can actually still curate the videos, even if you're not necessarily together.
And TikTok of more than any of the other ones has if this is what you're looking for, at some point, it definitely has the most potential for organic growth. Like you can, I've been on Twitter for a long time, Insta for a while. I've been on TikTok. I really started like, early on this year, and, one thing goes out and then I had a video that was at, 150,000 or 200,000 here. And you can really, like, if that's what you're looking to do, if, I didn't necessarily calculate that those things would, that would happen. But then if I go back and just like some of the conversations we're having, I'm like, oh yeah, if I think about what I did here, it checks off a lot of the boxes of what people gravitate to. So if there is something that you're looking for to, like, I really want a lot of people to see this, whether or not your audience right now is mainly on TikTok or somewhere else, there are so many eyes on TikTok. And because the age range is so crazy, I think that's a big piece of it. So, hundreds of thousands of people potentially, and you definitely have your like your million hitters where, people can just see things. So if now, don't worry about that. If that becomes something that you're looking for, there are ways to make it happen.
Okay. So interesting. Okay, hashtags for education. Is there like PD, professional development, differentiation? Is that, if you said those are?
You could look for those things. Those are kind of, standard education things, but the ones that are really going to get you to the most are things that are like platform specific, right? Like TikTok teachers or teachers of TikTok. Then you have, I think it's one of them. I want to say it's like TikTok teachers is like, billions. It has billions of hits. So those are the things that will get a lot of teachers. And then through that, if you have space, you can always add in a couple more, differentiation. Yep.
And I said that, like my hashtag today, I was like, please work. But too, once you hit 1,000 followers, you can also go live.
Oh, that's a whole new, yeah, that's right.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking, Toney, do you think you would have done this if it hadn't been, we had a whole podcast on silver linings of remote learning, COVID. You probably would have done this at some point, but do you think this kind of pushed it, remote learning situations, or no?
For a couple of reasons, I would say not to this extent, because I just think of like how things are connected, and the videos that I did that I can think of right now that got the most response were ones connected to me saying something about pandemic teaching. So there was the one about me rushing in from remote learning that people are like, oh, I've experienced that. And then there was one where I was talking about how the safety issue of how they were sending us back into the schools, but XYZ, these things hadn't happened in terms of safety measures. And that one was just text. Like I didn't say anything. But that was the one that was like 150,000 or so. So because of those, I was exposed to so many more teachers, and that definitely deepened my dive. So I'm sure I still would have been sharing things. I just am positive that it's impacted because those are things that I share.
Explosion happened there. Yeah.
TikTok just brought me joy. It got me through the pandemic.
Yes.
Like I watched so many cat videos and dog videos, like and little horse. Like I saw a little miniature horse today. I was like, I need this in my life. But TikTok brought me so much joy because there were people that were putting themselves out there. There were people that just were the silly things too. The kid running into the glass. I mean, it's funny. Like there's so much happiness that, of course, there's hate too, just like you find on any platform. But there's just so much. It got me through the pandemic. I'm not gonna lie.
In our household, it gave us many different recipes. My daughter would text me TikTok recipes. I was like, and all healthy stuff, right? All these great nutritious things. She said, Mommy, let's try this smoothie. Let's try this. And she sent it to me. I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. But then all of a sudden, another TikTok would come up of something really gross. And then I would just get so frustrated. So I have to learn to separate those. But I guess
life on past.
I gotta love that because I don't want to see the gross stuff. I really am not in.
One of the cool collaborative things that happened when I pretty early on, like once I got in and started finding a couple teachers, there were a couple of teachers that I connected with who were like-minded and were talking about issues that I was talking about as well and that I cared about. And we linked up, and one of the teachers, Miss April, started a teacher game night. And we had a big game night on Zoom where there might have been like 100 or so, or around 100-ish. But we all just got together, and it was so cool because there were folks that I follow and see and go, oh wow, I've only seen this person, in their videos, and now I'm seeing them kind of like, we're all like a little bit nervous, like what I always say, this is so weird. But that was cool, and how easy it was to do that was really exciting.
I did the same thing, but it was a guy that got stood up on a date. And so he's like, so everybody's like, we're going to have a date for you. See Lion Brian. He's like, we're going to date for you. So he sent a Zoom link, and people like from all over the United States had a glass of wine with them.
That's incredible.
That's incredible. Thing. What else are you going to do? Because you're in a pandemic. You can't go anywhere.
I love it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, cool. That's so funny. So did you get any Hamilton responses? Are you going to be doing something on the with a new?
It's funny. That's another one of maybe that's the one that has the most. I did like a video of Elmo doing Hamilton because I love puppets. I love puppets and I love doing voices. Like my Elmo is always like here with me. I use him in class a lot. But I did him like doing a duet with Hamilton, and I didn't hear anything from Hamilton, but it was a pretty crazy. It was definitely like not what I expected. I'm like, I love Elmo, but like people are like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed in my life, and I'm like, I've had so many of those experiences. I know like Andrea can attest, right, where you're just like, I didn't know I needed a video of like a small goat like eating an orange, but for some reason this just made me happy, and so that was neat.
Yes.
Well, this is what we needed today.
Yes.
The two of you giving us all of this wonderful advice. And I mean, we really didn't have to be here. You guys were like,
yes,
bouncing off of each other's ideas. So I'm so glad you're connected on TikTok, and that we are soon going to be connected with both of you on TikTok as well.
That's
And
right.
we will let you know, and we're going to ask for guidance along the way. But LinkedUp Podcast is going to have a TikTok very soon. We promise you that.
Awesome.
Because of the
We'll be ready
guidance.
for it.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So tell our listeners how they find you on social media.
So I'm AK Busy Bee on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and everywhere actually. I'm AK Busy Bee.
And Toney?
Yeah, on those same channels, I'm at He Rhymes With Me.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we'll put it in the show notes too.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for joining us today. And you know, you saw our first epic togetherness.
Yay!
Glad you were here.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, this was fun. This was fun.
Very inspirational. Thank
Yeah.
you both so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was a pleasure.
Agreed. So much fun.